So we have our new farm tractor, the M6040, that we just picked up. It's got low hours. It was less than 500 when I picked it up. I put it on a few hours and now it's just over 500 hours on it. Guy had all the fluids changed, everything from transmission, axles, differentials, everything. Last year, around 400 hours, just in preparation for the COVID shutdown. So he just went ahead and did everything. So she's been pretty well maintained. And the biggest thing we're gonna work looking at is widen up the stance a little bit. So that's why these front axle and tires are up in the air a little bit. There's two ways to widen these tires out. One of them is that center dish can be flipped and come out, but the manual actually doesn't suggest that. It makes you wonder if it puts a little too much load on those wheel bearings. And the other one is the cleats on each tire are offset. And if you look here, they're offset to this side of the tire, which means that tire is more medial or towards the midline. And if we swap between the sides, take this tire and put it on the other side, we should gain, I don't know how much, about 3 inches per side. So the whole thing will be half a foot wider on the front. And on the back, I have a couple things I need to do. Is the gentleman I picked it from was a little OCD and had a habit of checking his tire pressure all the time. And no one ever told him that the valve stem needed to be on the top with loaded tires. So every time we checked it, a little bit of calcium chloride, which I do not recommend you ever put in a tire, leaked. And that center hub, I need to go through and grind and polish up and repaint. But it's already dish out the way I want it. The only other thing we can do is swap the tires between the side and should gain about the same, about a half a foot. So the biggest thing is that tractor is a little wider than my father's setup, but I'm fine. My buildings are big enough to go just a hair wider. And the reason for that is some of the farm fields we farm that this tractor has not been on yet are very, very, very steep, enough to make you hold your breath sometimes. So I'm not taking any chances, especially if the kids are gonna run along with me. We're gonna widen things up. So the hub on this side, same deal. I'm gonna take everything off, wire wheel the living daylights out of the rust, clean it all up, primer, paint it, and then we'll swap the tires between the side and the front. The hubs are great, so we're just gonna swap. So we'll see if I can set you up so you can follow along as I get this done. But that's the project. We might just cut back to once everything's done up and we'll see how much stance we've added. So let's get a good look of how wide it is compared to the bucket starting off. It's well within the bucket here. Same in the front. There's about almost a foot past on either side. So the front tires won't go past the bucket, which is perfect for cleaning out barns, plowing snow. Even with it wind up, it's still gonna be covered by the bucket. So we'll see if I can get you guys set up so you can kind of see what's going on and follow along. So we managed to grind and grind and grind and grind and grind and get most of the rust and scale paint off. And we've gone through and we've used it's a Rust-Oleum product, rust reformer. Basically, it's supposed to stop the oxidization process. And it was thrown in on the deal when I bought the tractor. I bought some different primer, but this stuff actually looks better than what I went and bought. So I've already coated one side. This is the back side, which is why I didn't bother doing such a pretty job. Just a couple little poles and a little bit of runs, but I soaked it down well. And if it's gonna convert rust and stop the oxidation process, we coated it well. You can see the dust and the scale all over the gravel from us both using flap discs, which are down here, and the wire wheel and the angle grinder. Actually, for the scale, the wire wheel works the best by far. It might leave a little pits, but it actually takes all the oxide flakes right out. So let me show you what this side looks like. So when we go to grind this out, you'll actually see a little porous surface where the rough scale has actually pitted into the metal, but the wire wheel actually digs it out. So I get this side sprayed with WD-40, soaking the lug nuts out, and then we'll flop this wheel off too, and we'll do the same thing. The rims aren't that bad. There's a couple little spots. Eventually, I do want to convert this tractor over to rim guard. I do not want to leave calcium chloride in here and repeat this again. but budget right now, it might be a year or so before we can get around to it. So when we do that conversion, that's when I think I'll clean the rims up better. But for right now, we're getting the center hubs done. I might do some touch-up paint on the rims where it's gonna be out of sight. We'll see how far we get. Slowly but surely getting there. Oh, and just because I plan on probably coming back in here at some point, as scaly as these things are, and if it rusts again, I no-seized the living daylights out of that rim mount because it did not want to come off. And this will help if there's another oxidization event like what we've had. Believe it or not, that hub did not rust. So it was just that center hub that rusted. I guess I should say that's not a, well, it is a hub. Anyhow, that didn't rust. We no-seized the living daylights out of it. It should make assembly and disassembly a lot easier in the future. So the only things we have on the rims themselves are a little bit of rust right in the cleat mounts and right around the valve stem. And can't clean up or do too much about that until that valve stem comes out and we replace it. So I'm hoping they ran a tube in there. Looks like a tube type valve stem. And if they did, when we have it replaced, we'll redo a tube, the whole works. But future project. So this is our first attempt at the painting. The closest orange I can get that's affordable, aka what Lowe's has, is Kubota Orange. I've used it before on some of my Kuhn equipment, and it matches Kuhn paint to a T. And I know Kubota is a little darker orange than that, but since half this machine is extremely faded and bleached out blonde, for the most part, it actually is going to match the faded out hubs up front very, very dang close. So it's not going to look out of place. I think it's going to look really good. So faded orange Kubota tractor, Husqvarna orange paint, looks pretty dang awesome. So we're going to let this dry, or it doesn't matter up here. I put it on a little heavy. Let's just see how, yeah, still sticky to the touch. We'll let it dry for another hour and I'll flop her over and do the other side. And so far, so good. I think that will stop the massive rust issue we were having here. Hopefully that slows it down and this hub lasts us a good while longer. Good morning, Dad. Did you ever use the creeper gear much in the John Deere?
Very little.
Do you ever use it rototilling or anything, or?
Nope.
I'll give you a hand then.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get...
Thank you, Roger. The reason I bring it up is they make kits for these. They're still available, supposedly, and they're like $800. It replaces a plate on the side of this, and you just bolt and unbolt it and hook things back up, and then you have a creeper
Mainly
range.
when I put it in creeper gear before I got confident was putting it on and off the trailer. I put it in creeper gear and just
So you crawl.
know it was going to go slow no matter what.
Yep.
But
You ever use it with rototilling or anything? Or?
no, I didn't. You got lock washers in there or something?
No, they don't run anything.
What's the washers in there?
Oh, that's for the stud bolts that go up there in there. So,
are you taking the right nuts?
yep, they only fit in certain things. Caleb. I was trying to remember, do we have a strap still somewhere? At one point we had a strap.
Why?
A strap for what?
Lifting those tires.
Why do you need a trap
Can we use
for
a
what
chain?
they need trap?
I guess if I wrap it with a rag so it doesn't rip those rims apart, right? Or maybe I could tie a loop with a ratchet strap and use that as a point.
Why do you need me in here?
Because you were helpful. Did you pick up all the bolts? Put them in the cover box like I asked? And I still see some. We'll come back when we're done, Roger. And we'll put a cheetah bar on all these.
I put one on the bubble box. I can reach in there with my head and pick them up. I can reach in there with my head and pick them up. I can reach in there with my head and pick them up.
All right. Nice job. Put them in the box.
Let's see if I can hit those balls there. That's what you do when you come in the tire, okay?
Yep.
That's what you do when you make a ring.
So if you remember the stance before, there was almost a foot in from the edge of the bucket. Now that rear tire is probably inch or so in, but close to the width of the bucket. Rear tire is going to line up about perfect with the inside of the front. And now we got to do the other side, but that is awesome. You guys can see this side come on. All right. Because if you get that on your clothes, wipe that off on Daddy's jacket right behind you. Don't get that on your clothes. Put it off on Daddy's jacket.